To this message the journalists gave the generic name of Third Secret of Fatima. If you are well behaved, oh children, we will tell you everything. Promised. We won't hide anything. Now you will wonder, but why Third Secret? It's because there were two other messages transmitted by the lady, about a fantastic red dragon, which would appear in the world to defy the Most High. This is the Soviet Union which, from its creation in 1917, denied the existence of God, prohibiting people worshipping him. The other was about a Second World War that would devastate the world approximately 20 years later. This war was to be announced by a great sign in the sky, called by scholars Aurora Borealis. It actually happened in 1938, 21 years after the apparitions of the lady. But let's go back in time to July 13, 1917. On that day, the Lady of Heaven confided to Lucia this famous third secret that you are all impatient to know. The lady asked Lucia to write it down on a sheet of paper and to transmit it in due course to the Pope in the Vatican. The Vatican is where the head of the Catholic Church called the Pope resides. On the envelope, Lucia wrote, "Do not open before the year 1960, obeying an order from the Most High." With the death of Francisco and Jacinta, her usual companions, Lucia feels alone. Then there are all these people who do nothing but annoy her, to find out about the secret. That's why she decides to hide in a convent of Carmelite sisters in Coimbra, another city in Portugal. She would no longer leave this convent until her death. She did not marry and had no children, all this to keep the secret inviolate. Imagine, my children. What a great sacrifice on the part of the young shepherdess Lucia. "43 years later, we are in 1960. Finally, the devotees of Fatima Mystery are extremely excited. Because after this prolonged time they are about to know what this famous third secret is. Journalists from all over the world gather in Rome to hear the Pope read the message publicly. On radio and television. In 1960, the head of the Vatican is Pope John XXIII. Put yourself in his place. His heart is beating very fast. His hands shake as he opens the envelope that was well kept in a safe, the Pope being the only person in the world to hold the key. The Pope then reads what Lucia had written, the famous secret, and then faints in shock. John XXIII then decides to make a fatal decision, to disobey the Almighty and keep the message hidden. The whole world, in Portugal, in Italy, in Africa, in America, everywhere, couldn't believe it. The message must have the effect of an earthquake, people kept saying. But then what is it? No one could know but the Pope. Little by little, as all the popes who followed John XXIII continued to keep silent, this famous secret was forgotten. Except from God. In fact, 21 years after 1960, on May 13, 1981, the very day of the 64th anniversary of the apparitions, the Pope was the victim of an attempted assassination. His name is John Paul II and he comes from a country, Poland, where they worship a black Madonna. And if the mother is black, her son Jesus is also black. Remember this, children. For this is the key to the famous third secret. The whole world was shocked. But why did they try to kill the Pope? And on the very day of the Fatima mystery? A terrorist from Turkey, Ali Aja, is the man who shot the Pope. The exact time he pulled the trigger on his pistol was 1719. The two digits, 17, and 19, read from right to left as Jesus did 2,000 years ago. Give, 1917. The Pope, therefore, escaped death on the 13th day of May, at a time, hour and minute, that connects with the year 1917. Without a doubt, O children, God hinted a coded message to mankind through this sign. Which message? Subsequently, with the scars of death on his body, John Paul II started to proclaim that the Lady of Fatima saved his life. He consequently traveled to Fatima first and then in his homeland Poland to thank the Black Mother of Christ. Remember that Poland is the homeland of the Black Madonna of Częstochowa. The link with the Fatima mystery does not stop there. Indeed, John Paul II began to visit Africa. He was the first pope to do so. The others, those who reigned before him, believed that there was nothing good about Africa. In 1992, John Paul II visited Angola. He not only stopped in Luanda, the capital of the country, but insisted on reaching the city of Mbanza, Congo. Formerly San Salvador, in the extreme north, see Psalm chapter 45 verse 2. This is where Kimpa Vita emerged 3 centuries ago. She is a 20-year-old young prophetess who, at the beginning of the 18th century, had announced the return of Christ, not in Palestine, nor in Europe, nor in America, but in the heart of Africa. See Zephaniah chapter 3 verses 9 to 10.
C'est loué, mon ongele, lusala luvuvamu. ngele kwa tata ngele baka ngolo zampa